All right, let's do one more. I don't know. I'm not sure. I thought I was just gonna experiment, but now I'm kind of motivated to do the whole book. It's kind of maybe the warrior in me, but I feel like I started something that's worthy of finishing. So anyway, let's do one more. This is number 4 on page 13. And Lao Tzu, supposedly, according to me, said, "Nature is a cosmic whirlpool of inexhaustible energy. Whether you splash, join, or leave the whirlpool, the forces of nature continue unchanged." And when I use nature like that, in both cases I'm using a capital N. I'm saying nature is kind of like the mother nature, the spirit, the God, the identity, which is just a romantic way of putting together the science, the weather, the spinning of the thing, the rotating around the earth. That is pretty, it's harder to put a word on that, all the physical, geophysical reality aspects of our existence. I don't know, the mother nature. So nature is an easy way to term, and that's all the Tao is. The Tao is just a word. Remember, Tao is just a word that we decided could mean something which most people don't understand still. Okay, so here we go. 1 minute getting started. All right, here we go. I'm trying to figure out how to be more succinct so I can be professional in my. I'm going to actually go in there and record it really nicely. Okay, number 4. Let's read that again. Nature is a cosmic whirlpool of inexhaustible energy. Yeah, so nature's just planets are spinning around. That's a lot of energy. Inexhaustible? Well, supposedly maybe someday they'll stop and slow down, but that's beyond our comprehension. Whether you splash, join, or leave the whirlpool, so you fly off the earth, the forces of nature continue unchanged. Yeah, so if you leave the earth, nothing's going to really change. Okay, so here we go. Let's read the questions. I didn't read ahead. I should have scanned ahead to see if there's any I wanted to answer myself. Let's stumble along together. Then I'm going to take a break here. Here we go. How are you connected to the cosmic whirlpool? Yeah, I got some friends. And over the years, I've been a Native American. I actually, like I said, the previous thing, I used to give back to something to Tung grandfather. You shouldn't try to talk to Lakota, I'll mess up bad. When I was even having meals, and I tried to have a relationship. It was like a karmic relationship. It was almost like you want to think it's a sentient being, and by scratching it, it's going to be nice to you and let you stay there. And so I had that kind of relationship. And then there's another kind of relationship above that, which is kind of creepy, I think. But anyway, all the plants have like a bioenergy. You put plants together and they kind of harmonize. It's not, they almost talk to each other. In fact, I'd be probably willing to say that they do talk to each other. But they have a certain energy feeling, like radio waves. You just bear with my terminology. I'm just using words to convey a concept, so don't hang me on any technicalities. Anyway, they all got this magnetic energy frequencies or whatever they communicate on. They've got that. Now the animals are different. Okay, and they don't want to be in that frequency and listening to the plants. That's a whole bunch of noise to them. So to them, they're in a kind of a different frequency of awareness and involvement. And so they can sense each other and almost talk telepathically. And we're part of that. We're part of that animal frequency network. It's almost, you can almost tap into it. Like a lot of people try to think of it like this radio wave of consciousness. And I got to tell you, if it does exist, and I have tapped into it, it's like tapping into a whole bunch of cows in a field. Who wants to tap into all that? All this me, my, I want, that's all it is. Animals. I'm hungry. I want. So I don't know. That's why getting connected to the cosmic whirlpool. Sorry, I had to throw that in. 4 minutes. Yeesh. Okay, here we go. How inexhaustible is your internal energy? Wow, I definitely got whole bunch more than anybody else. I know. What are your most energetic hours of the day? See, I've worked as a carpenter, graveyard shifts and everything, so I really do know what I prefer. And what I really prefer, my body's natural rhythm with the Tao, whatever it is, as a creative person, an energetic person, a working person, whatever, is I like to sleep from like midnight to 8 a.m. It can kind of shift an hour or two or whatever, but that's the basic layout of it. From midnight to 8 a.m., I want to be asleep. Although now I have to get up at 6 in the morning. visit the train. Used to sleep through that, but that's because I'm a senior. Anyway, I gotta tell my cat, now I'll go back to bed. Not getting up for another. Actually, I'm trying to go. I was going to bed at 11:30 to 7:30, so my alarm's going off at 7:30. Maybe I should move it to 8. But 7:30 just kind of worked for me because I had certain things I wanted to do by certain times in the day, and I had other obligations, and I was shooting classes with Oscar and stuff like that. So it's the 7:30. Actually, and then it was. I get back to okay. So my most energetic hour of the days are the reverse of that. Okay, so that's everything that's not that. My energetic hours. When would you like to have more energy? Even late at night, you know. Sometimes I try not to drink coffee after 6 o'clock in the evening because that'll get me through to midnight. And if I have much coffee at 8, or especially at 10, then it'll be harder to get to sleep. And if I don't get much sleep, then I'm not as good the next day. So you don't want to make mistakes. You know, you got to keep that rhythm because you break the rhythm one day, it can ruin several days, probably. Okay, when would you like to, okay, when do you do your Tai Chi every day? Remember, I wrote this for my students. Lately, I've been doing it like super late because, you know, I work out in the day and stuff, and that's not really for me, or I do my classes, but sometimes I didn't do my Tai Chi. So I usually ends up being really late when I'm really tired or something. It's been kind of weird. Not weird, yeah, weird. When you're really, really tired, and you know, and you just might sometimes a couple of times I realize, hey man, I can't sleep. Oh, I'll go do my Tai Chi, and I get out there, and then you realize how tired you are. Then you say, oh, I'm really tired. I'd go back to sleep. You know, but I don't try to fool myself. So anyway, I'll start doing my Tai Chi and go, oh man, I am really tired. and then you're doing it, and you're just trying to make it to the end of the form, and that's a good experience because that's what real battle is, or anything in life is really. It never goes easy, and it always gets harder as you go. So you have to build up that spirit of just accepting the fact it gets harder, and you do it. Where are we? How do you feel about practicing Kung Fu? Oh, God, man. You're talking to my classes. I've gone through some injuries. I've had 2 surgeries. I threw out my shoulder. I had back problem. I mean, and I had plantar fasciitis. I was going to a therapist. The last couple of years have been horrible, a few years, and have been just horrible in terms of doing it. And so for me, this Kung Fu is like my comeback. It's like I'm driven to rebuild myself and become who I used to be because I've been backed off and I didn't have my students the last couple of years, and so I wasn't doing as many classes all at the same time. It just all snowballed into me doing the least amount of Kung Fu in my life. And at 66 years of age, that wasn't a good way to transition into seniorhood. It's like, oh, let's do 1/10 of as much exercise for a couple of years. So now I'm 66 years old, and I'm not at my spring chicken, you know, that I could be at right now, or where I was a few years ago, and I'm degraded much more than I should have in 5 years. In fact, I don't think I should degrade at all. I want to go back to where I was 5 years ago. So anywhere away. Okay, so I'm doing my Kung Fu as a comeback. So to me, it's that warrior, it's that drive and I really want to do it. Which is why it bugs me, like I said, when I get too busy and I'm trying to talk myself out of it. So it's got a little conflict. Okay, where are we? Explain your eating schedule each day. I eat every few hours. You might learn a few things off this. Now, when I was homeless, I was actually eating 3 eggs for breakfast every day. So, you know, if you're going to get a dozen eggs, that would last me, because my ice only lasts 2 days usually. So I get ice twice, and then next time I get the ice, I get some more eggs. But I get up in the morning, I have breakfast, okay? Feed my cat and have breakfast. So that's like 8 o'clock. So I said I get up at 7:30. So 8 o'clock I'm having breakfast. Then 10 o'clock I usually have a snack. Now my cat's been changing my schedule a little bit. It hasn't been working for me because we just jumped into daylight savings time and he doesn't understand that. So even though it says, you know, 11 o'clock, to him it's 12 o'clock. You know, and I keep forgetting that, and I pissed him off. I said, no, wait another hour. He'll come over and eat his dry food and then go back and take a nap, and I'll call him, and he won't come out for lunch. He's like, you didn't feed me when I should have been in bed. It's like, but it's noon now, but he doesn't understand the jump ahead, so I've been like changing my schedule, just kind of for him, but working mine and skipping that morning break, which I don't really need. I'm not at work, I'm not a laborer anymore. So now I'm kind of like getting up at 8 and eating breakfast at 9 and then not eating anything until noon, and I'll feed him at like 11 and then I'll have something at noon, and then I might have a snack at 3. I usually do, but I've been so busy working on the web, I actually I'll sit down and 4 hours later, it's like, oh my goodness, I worked right through my 3 o'clock break. That's why I don't like working on the computer. I just get too sucked into it. And I'm not talking about Facebook, I'm talking about building those websites. But anyway, so by lunch, okay, so then I have lunch. So for breakfast, I'll usually have like an egg or two and maybe a meat, apple or an orange, and then a pancake or something, which I always put lots of eggs in or something, or a cereal or something. But I always want a fruit, a meat, the eggs, and starch. And the dairy's not as important to me. I don't really focus on the dairy. But I'm trying to add a little bit, and I like to have cheese and stuff. Okay, so anyway, that's my breakfast. Then at noon, what I'm going to have is basically the same kind of layout, except I'll usually add lettuce in, because I don't like lettuce for breakfast. So I always try to have a salad for breakfast, and hopefully I'll have a salad for dinner, so I'll have 2 salads in that day. So then I'll have a salad for my lunch. And lately what I've been doing is I get the bags of spinach lettuce, and then I wash it, and I put it, and then I slice up an orange, or an apple, and then I throw that in there. And then I mix up some peanut butter with some water and salt, maybe some soy sauce to create like a peanut butter sauce, or I buy some stuff in the store. And then I have a salad while I also have some sort of meat, be it chicken or hamburger or a fried egg, or lately I got some bologna from the church. Man, I'm so full of bologna. I'm serious, I got like 10 pounds of bologna. So I've been eating a lot of bologna. Okay, so that's my lunch. Now, I might have a snack in the afternoon, because as a worker and a person who you shouldn't ever have, you can't go 6 or 5 hours. It's too long to go without eating. So if I wait from noon till 5 and start making my dinner at 6, I've just had too much of a sugar lull. That 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock is really not going to be me at my best. I'm not going to be as smartest, and I won't be as productive. So I try to have a 3 o'clock break, which could be anything, just a granola bar, peanut butter sandwich, maybe another salad. I like having just a salad and an apple, or an orange. I try to have a fruit or something, but make it something, but a little snack, but not a meal. It's not really a meal. And it doesn't have to even have meat in it. But you got to have meat for the next one. And I want protein 3 times a day. So then I got my supper about 5 to 6 o'clock, and that'll be anything. I like cooking chicken lately, and tacos, and I've been overcooking. I went through like almost a container and a half of oil in the first 2 months I moved into here. I was just frying all kinds of stuff you can't do when you live in your car. So I have a lot of fun cooking. So anyway, I kind of panicked. I realized, man, I could get, like a quart and a half of oil in less than 2 months. I said, backing off now. Haven't even used a half of a thing in 3 months now, so I changed my cooking style. But I was really enjoying frying a lot of stuff for a while there. Okay, so you go through these things. That was my Tao. I had to work that out of my system. I had to get some stuff out from frustration, food frustration. Where were we? We're at 13 minutes, and I'm not going too fast here. Okay, where are we? Explain your eating schedule. You got that? Oh, and you should have a snack after that. So 6 o'clock, and if I go to bed at midnight, then I won't, at 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock, I'm going to finally just break down and have something to eat, and then I'm going to go to bed with a full stomach, and then I'm going to wake up with acid reflux. So you don't want to eat within 2 hours of going to bed, so you should never eat after 10 o'clock, basically, if you're going to bed at midnight. If you're going to bed at 10 o'clock, then you shouldn't eat after 8 o'clock. You got to have that 2-hour window for your food to get out of your stomach before you lay down. So it sits in there all night and rots. That's what acid reflux is. It's as simple as that. The doctor's not going to tell you that. I don't know why. Doctors just give you pills. They can help you a lot more than that. They really got smarter. Anyway, but like I said, they're just workers. They're told what to say, and they say what they're told to do. Okay, so that's what most doctors are. I expect too much out of a doctor. Okay, where were we? So yeah, the acid reflux. I'm glad I threw that in. How do you wake up each morning, and how quickly are you awake? Well, gosh, I was in this parking lot sleeping for some months, last year, and have to wake up, and you got to get all the way across the parking lot to the latrine and get back, and you can't be walking out there. So, anyway, just pointing out that sometimes you just got to wake up and be in action. Danger. Anyway, so I've never found actually lately a couple of times though. In the house, I have noticed I kind of dragging around, not being as perky as I would be if I was outside. So it's a mental attitude, but it's a decision. It's a decision, and you should just wake up. That's it. Don't convince yourself that you can't do that. That's it. You're just got to tell yourself you can do it. It's that easy. It's a decision. Where are we? Explain your morning habits before going to work or school. Okay, so you shower in the evening or you shower in the morning? Do you brush your teeth? What do you do? All that type of stuff. Do you floss? Which direction, north, east, south, or west, does your head point when you sleep each night? Think of yourself here as a compass needle with your head being the tip of the needle. Okay, so if you're, when you lay down at night, if your head's pointed directly north, then you're pointing to the north. Okay, if you're pointed to the west, you're pointed to the west, east, or south. Okay, so that's, okay. Anyway, the point being is that's the way you're magnetically polarized every night when you sleep. And that's real important. That'll affect your sleep. But anyway, Shifu sleeping suggestions. I don't actually obviously get into that right now. That's a whole topic of feng shui. Read feng shui. Feng shui will explain the whole thing. Everything that feng shui says is true, as far as I know. Let's put it this way. Every single thing I've learned about feng shui has made sense and proven itself in reality. But the trick is to really actually be able to see the truth of the feng shui. It's not as easy to just read it and see it. It's an art in itself, so it's not that easy. Okay, where are we? Explain your after work or after school habits. What do you do in that window from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock? Like I said, that when you probably should have a break, you should probably at 3 o'clock have a snack. So now you're empowered for 3 hours of whatever you want to do. So at 6 o'clock, then you have your real dinner, or 5 to 6. Start at 5, then it's ready at 6. If you started at 5 and you were served it at 5:30, you got to still clean it up, so it goes till 6. However you look at it. But anyway, where are you? How are you adding energy back into the cosmic whirlpool? This is a little more spiritual. That's my Native American thing coming through. How are you adding energy to the whirlpool? In other words, what energy do you add? What energy is Trump adding to the nature, to the Tao of the universe? He's got a megaphone. See, Trump, our president, has this huge megaphone, 2020 right now. So he has more of an effect than I do. I yell and say anything even more caustic than him. No effect. No, nobody hears. But he's connected to the Tao in a different way than I am. And so he has an effect. And the energy that he's adding, look what it is. It's ugly. It's an ugly energy. So make sure you choose your energy. Just all energy is not good. Qigong is energy work. But it doesn't mean good energy work or bad energy work. We want to presume it's good. But obviously it's just working your energy. The trick is you got to have good energy to work. That's the trick. In fact, the Chinese have something which they used to refer to. I haven't heard, I don't hang out with that many Chinese people this century. But they call it qi poisoning. And that's where you're basically circulating bad energy. And it just poisons you. So you're magnifying. It's like being Darth Vader and killing yourself with your negative energy. Okay, how aware are you of all energy sources around you? If you walked under power, if somebody was to blindfold you and you walked under power lines, could you sense them? Things like that. It's not, don't feel bad, because you can go nuts, I got to a point where I could feel the wires in the walls. It was like, sheesh, you got to back off a little bit. Feeling it's not going to do you any good. But how much can you sense it? Can you sense different energies? Can you tell when you're walking on different surfaces how you're up in the air off the earth or connected to the earth and stuff? So anyway, that's it. That was number 4. Let's read what number 4 was, and let's see if I've led you to understand it better. Number 4 is nature is a cosmic whirlpool of inexhaustible energy. Whether you splash, join, or leave the whirlpool, the forces of nature continue unchanged. Now there's really 2 things. Let's go back to that first one. I think that the second one kind of covers it over. Nature is a cosmic whirlpool of inexhaustible energy. Remember I was talking about how you get up in the morning and do this? That's you and nature. Does nature have trouble getting up in the morning? No. So you're not in harmony with nature. So the inexhaustible energy is nature. If you really want to tap into it, really be in harmony with it. Let it energize. All right, Buddha Jan here. See you. Oh, almost 19 minutes.